Along with the Black Ops 6 integration in Warzone, there came a ton of bugs. And while I'm sure you noticed this yourself, jgod actually put together a list of nearly 100. So we're gonna watch together and see how bad it truly is. In case you wanna watch the video yourself, it is called Warzone 99 Problems, but the store ain't one. Funny enough, it was actually originally called Warzone 99 Problems, but the first comment was 99 problems, but the store ain't one. So either way, oh, whoa, way too zoomed in. Either way, we're gonna dive into this and see really what jgod has to say and whether or not it's really as bad as I feel.
Yeah, it's a little bit sad at the same time because I started making a list of everything wrong with the current version of Warzone. Kind of stay tuned because if I missed any, make sure you comment those down below. But I think I got a lot of them because we got over 30 of them. If you don't think there's that many, just stay tuned. There are quite a bit. Start off with quality of life issues that are currently gone from the game and haven't made their way back or got removed with the update, which is kind of unfortunate. First being the gas mask animation break. I had this happen to me probably a couple times. I did tweet about it. It says that they've addressed it, but I haven't gone into the game to...
They have not addressed it. As of the time of recording this video, I today still had my gas mask break and I had to pull it off in the middle of a gunfight and lost that gunfight and lost the game.
See if they fix this. Primarily when the gas mask breaks, it'll go ahead and pull off the animation. Then you're kind of stuck in the hip fire. Terrible. Hopefully they've already fixed that though. The visual shake on the weapons. Throughout the year, Sledgehammer did a passes through with Raven and they continually improved the recoil. And now all the guns kind of have this visual recoil back. That's super excessive and
super bad, especially whenever you pair that with flinch, because right now, if you get shot and you're holding a sniper rifle, it is like the worst thing that's ever happened. It makes it look like you are dying immediately and you will shoot straight up at the sky. It is rough.
Makes a lot of guns that would be viable at long range just not viable. Bad enough you got to deal with actual recoil. The visual recoil just throws off too many players and makes a gun that would ordinarily be very good at long range almost unusable and almost give you a headache from the amount of shakes, which is kind of insane.
Absolutely.
Next up is the mantling. We had mantling boots all of last year. They were kind of default perks that they carried over from MW3. The mantling's still kind of slow. I know they did a pass through today. I haven't really done a head-to-head comparison.
Off rip, I will say mantling is a lot better, but again, it still feels, maybe I'm crazy, a little bit off from where it was before. So mantling is still going to be slower. It like jumping onto a higher wall is still going to be slower than what it was before the update, along with a lot of other things.
To see how that is, because they just did it. But overall, that's something that should be there by default, along with weapon swap speed and those types of things, which we'll talk a little bit about. But the in-game challenge tracking, that's gone. There's so many insane challenges.
And what he's saying is, like, let's say you have a camo or you have a daily challenge, or actually I'm pretty sure daily challenges show up. But if you have a challenge that you're trying to go for so that you can unlock something in your game, you no longer can see these things. You can't press square on that and end up tracking it in the game. You're just stuck with trying to memorize it or take a picture before or something like that. And you will have no idea how much you have left until you can actually get that unlocked.
You would never do unless you're like paying attention to them on the forefront. And sometimes the challenges can be so hidden in the menus. You're trying to work on something specific, whether it's a camo or something like that. You kind of want to be able to see what your progress is. And this should be for all modes, not just Warzone.
Absolutely.
Should be for multiplayer and zombies as well. So how is that gone? Favoriting attachments. I know they've simplified the loadout. We still have about 25 or so optics on almost all of the BO6 weapons. But if you go to try and make a create a class for MW2 and MW3 weapons,
it is rough. It is like the worst experience absolutely possible going through this when you have a billion attachments that are, I might add, in a completely different order than they were beforehand. And it's very confusing trying to find things because you expect them to maybe be in ABC order, but they just aren't. So you can't find these attachments and you're just stuck searching for like 3 minutes in between games when you're like, oh, I need to change something out. It takes forever.
It kind of hurts not being able to highlight some of the optics that you like when there's over 70 in those specific titles, which is a little bit unfortunate. Maybe they'll come around and we'll be able to get those. So those are a couple quality of life. If you think there's a few others that I'm missing, let me know in the comments. They might get touched on when we talk about networks or other fundamental game issues, which there are a ton, and then the bugs. There's the long list of bugs that are currently in the game that I think a lot of these will get addressed, but I want to go ahead and bring them out to the forefront. Next up is the network issues. A lot of people are talking about this. I know a lot of people in my last video were talking about it, or one of my recent videos are talking, hey, Tactical Brit has a great video on this. He does have a pretty good video on it. I disagree on some of the points, but overall, I think it's a pretty solid video that kind of talks about the network problems with the game that's leading to extreme desync. And
I would really love to hear what jgod has to say. Like, I'd like to hop in and like have a conversation with jgod and say, what do you actually think's going on behind the scenes? Because he's mentioned, and I've, quoted him in some of my videos recently, that, a lot of these issues come in the in-between stage of, all right, we played the game here. It seemed fine. Everything was working. And then when they went to upload it and they mixed in all the net code and all this stuff, however the hell it works, when they did all that and made it public to a massive audience, all of a sudden everything broke. It's like they've never done it before in their lives and everything broke. Now he, mentioned something like that. So I'm curious, like, if jgod behind the scenes knows a little bit more than a lot of other people, because if he's going to disagree with the Tactical Brit, it kind of makes you wonder, what exactly is it that he knows that maybe the Tactical Brit would not? Someone who does a massive amount of research. And this is not me to Tactical Brit. This is literally just me genuinely wondering, like, hey, what you got in that noggin there, jgod? What you got going on, bud?
And a lot of these things are visible in testing. I've seen a few different clips where people are doing testing, which I'll probably link in the description if you want to check this out. But it's leading to a lot of issues with kill cams, which are notoriously not accurate ever in Call of Duty history.
And I will mention this again, kill cams and spectating are two things that if you ever watch someone trying to say someone is cheating based on that, it's very difficult to give that any props. You can't expect that to be true because they're just recreations of what's happening. You'll have things like the UAV doesn't work while you're spectating. You'll have things like recoil doesn't exist while you're spectating. It'll literally look like the person has zero recoil. They're using a Cronus. They've got hacks. They've got aimbot, whatever it may be that you want to say. That's what it'll look like. A lot of the things like perks don't show up. It won't show high alert. It probably won't even show the right amount of players. I've had it show at the end of the game that there's like 3 players left and somehow there's only 1. So the player gets the other guy and, well, the game ends. So it's very, very weird. A lot of stuff does not show up whenever you're looking at kill cams and or spectating. So I would never use that as a way to decide if someone is cheating unless you watch the kill cam, the person snaps onto your head through the wall, and most of the time you can tell that it's a head snap because it's right below that little arrow saying, this is you. So if you see that, then obviously they're probably cheating, but they have to snap through a wall and follow you for it to be something that you can trust or something that you should report for. Other than that, I probably wouldn't be reporting because the reporting system is broken, and that's a whole other conversation because Ricochet, plain and simple, is not working. There are certain things in Ricochet that work, and those are things that they have went out of their way to say, all right, we detect this software, this software, this software. The rest of it is purely based on reports, purely based on screenshots, purely based on some of the dumbest things I have ever seen in my entire life. And I have no idea why we are still pushing for a system that we know simply does not work.
So they're not going to be particularly accurate when the network's having issues, but you can see this with sniper shots where you can shoot somebody, you might get a red mist, you feel like you should have got a hit marker or down, and then you just get nothing. And the reality is the game is trying to do something on both sides. There is a long video about this. Actually, Infinity Ward made this video about their network issues back when Modern Warfare 2019 dropped.
Interesting.
And it kind of explains how some of these things do and what the system.
That was terrible. Sorry, I know that he's talking, but the shots that guy just took were so utterly pointless. And I know this probably isn't the time to talk about the guy that he's spectating, but the person that he was spectating, I'm going to go back for a split second. Can we just for a second look? Okay, he's tracking this guy who's out in the open, right? He's got this super like easy shot on this guy who's out in the open, doesn't really have much of a place to go because of where he's at. It's easy to see right there. And what ends up happening is he holds his shots. He holds his shots. He holds his shots.
And it kind of explains how some.
And then the guy dives off. While he's diving, about to have full cover by moving into this area over here,
some of these
he's like, all right, maybe now's the time. which leads to the dumbest play that anyone can make, which is trigger discipline. And I know, again, the video's not about this, but for the love of God, why take a shot right there? Why? It makes no sense. For someone please help that man.
Trying to do, but overall, it's terrible right now, and it's probably the worst it's ever been.
Literally.
Usually with the new Call of Duty, within betas, within integrations, usually any one of these touching points, there's almost always issues with the network, but it's never been as bad as this. Call of Duty usually runs on the 60 hertz servers. Warzone is notoriously running at the 20 hertz servers. Same as Apex Legends. I think Fortnite's only at 30 and PUBG's kind of like at 60. And that's it kind of for Battle Royale. All the other 6v6 games, 5v5, CSGO, Valorant, those are like way more tick rate, but typically the
double that of Call of Duty multiplayer. Valorant and CSGO are both at 120 tick rate, which means how many times a second they receive information.
It's way less players as well. I think Overwatch has a decent one as well. I'm not 100% sure off the top of my head. Battlefield, whatever. But it's leading to a lot of desync, so they got to get this dialed in, whether it's the lag compensation algorithm, or maybe there's not enough servers. Maybe it is the tick rate. Maybe there's way more players than they ever expected to be on the game. They did tweet out that saying this is the most players that have ever been on their games in the history of Call of Duty.
But that's just like, that specifically doesn't make sense, because, and I'll say this again, I will say this again, stress testing your system should be super easy, and let me tell you why. And I know I've been point blank told this is a really stupid way to look at it, but I'm always going to look at it this way because it's so absurd that I had this told to me. Because one time I made a tweet. I was like, hey, why is it that Call of Duty can have a max peak of players on Warzone of about 400,000 at any given moment, right? And by the way, back in the day, it used to be millions. We could have millions online. But Warzone, I think, was like 400,000. But somehow, Fortnite had a max peak, like at an instant, basically, of like 14 million. Something absurd. Now, we don't know how accurate these numbers for Warzone are because they've hidden their API for a very long time. We can't figure out what it is. They do that for the sake of monetization and being able to be like, we actually have so many players, but there's no way to know if they actually have that many players. They don't talk about it behind the scenes or anything like that. They don't say the exact number because they don't want us to know. Either way, the whole thing is how is it that other games can have a max peak of way more than Call of Duty and yet have basically no issues when it comes to the server stability? And that's because, hear me out, Call of Duty is paying for the cheapest servers they possibly can and just screwing over the average player. It is literally just completely absurd how cheap they are going on these servers, and they don't want to update it because they know that when you update it, you'll end up with even more issues. But if you don't update it and deal with those issues up front, then it keeps causing these issues year over year over year over year over year. And by the way, I don't know if you remember this, I think it was like 2021, 2022, Southwest Airlines had a similar issue where, you know, they just kept dealing with this old ass system. And then one day, crash. Every airport that had Southwest Airlines, I had to deal with this firsthand. Every single airport with a Southwest airplane, they could not send a single flight for, I think, like 2 Christmases ago or something like that. This happened because their system crashed. And it screwed over everybody. It screwed over every single person that had a Southwest flight. And that's exactly what's happening to the Call of Duty servers, is that they're really just letting these servers get outdated worse and worse. And it's going to ruin their service. And one day there's going to be a really bad crash. And then maybe when that day comes, all of a sudden they're going to fix it. Who knows? I mean, I don't know, but maybe they just cheap out again. Who knows?
The entire month. So the retention is way better than we've had previously, despite a lot of these flaws in the game. So hopefully they get whatever it is dialed in, because normally it does improve. Another thing this is leading to, if you watch your kill cam, somebody could be shooting.
I don't know if I have this as high quality. I do. Okay, just double checking. His camera's
your
looking
legs,
a little
and
low
it
quality.
looks like they're getting headshot hit markers. Again, this part was tested, and you could actually see it where you're not getting that damage. The TTKs are normal. It's just because of the desync and the network issues trying to play catch up causes a lot of issues, and it's just feeding you false information. So I wouldn't really rely on a kill cam. And if you die instantly faster than you'd expect with the TTK, it's just the network being weird. It's just kind of how it goes. A lot of people lean into this skill-based hit reg or skill-based whatever.
Just in case you didn't know, that just does not exist. I realize, to be clear, I realize they have patents for this, and I've talked about it in some videos in the past. It doesn't exist. It's genuinely just that they have terrible servers. I want you to know that. I don't know if they're smart enough to figure that out. I'll be honest, it seems like it should be easy enough because they track everything about every player, but I don't know if they could implement something like that when they can't get stable servers. That's what I'll say.
I mean, they can't even get their network in order to run properly.
Hey, jgod and I are on the same page.
They can get it well enough to work in real time to adjust to the player's skill. In a fight where there's skill-based matchmaking, you should already be going against someone of similar skill. I don't know. Either.
That is not okay. jgod should know this. I don't know why he hasn't pointed this out already. Skill-based matchmaking doesn't work that way in the slightest. Skill-based matchmaking is focused on player retention, which means that sometimes you're going to have lobbies that are actually at your skill level, and then sometimes you're going to have lobbies that aren't at your skill level. That is not due to Call of Duty being able to give you lobbies at your skill level at all times, or because there's not enough players online sometimes. It's simply because they want to make sure that you want to stick around on the game. And if they notice, hey, they usually get off at this time because they've had to deal with this many games of it being annoying and stuff like that, then we better throw them a bone. And so they will get easier players. That's why there's a lot of talk about like VPNs and stuff like that. But Call of Duty is already giving you easier lobbies against other players, which means that they don't see a problem with you fighting easier players. It's just about whether or not you should fight against their own system and stuff like that. So just know that skill-based isn't actually skill-based, right? If you're in ranked, then they really lock down that skill, right? But if you're in pub matches, it's about engaging the player. And I think we need to get rid of the verbiage of engagement optimized matchmaking because that confuses people. And Activision actually goes out of their way to try and manipulate us into believing they don't do engagement optimized matchmaking. Instead, we should call it retention optimized matchmaking, because what they're doing is they're trying to retain the player longer so that the player sticks around, spends money, stuff like that. There's a whole thing about it. Like I've made multiple videos talking about this. It is insane the kind of things that they do to retain players, but just know that skill-based matchmaking isn't the only thing that exists for you, and it's not about whether or not you're playing against people of your level. It's about them knowing that sometimes you should. That way you get the enjoyment of playing against people your level. Sometimes you should get easier lobbies. That way you'll stick around for longer. I don't know.
Either way, networking is atrocious. Whatever they do to fix it, hopefully they address it sooner rather than later. Then it comes to the other issues. So now this is like a big bullet point where either they could be a feature or a bug. I don't know. If they're a feature, I want them to change. If they're a bug, I want them to be fixed.
This is like Warzone 2 era issues, basically, like things that where you hopped into Warzone 2 and you were like, did they do that on purpose? Is that on purpose, or did you screw that up? And most of the time, turns out Warzone 2 screwed things up on purpose because they thought that that's what the players want, and that's why you should not trust data on the back end. You should actually listen to the player base. Isn't that crazy?
And there's a bunch of bullet points in here. Audio still pretty terrible, even though they did that pass through. It is better than day one, 100% better than day one. But the audio, it just has a
they broke it yesterday. Just a quick heads up for a lot of people. They broke the audio yesterday. It deleted stereo audio for like behind people. It's something weird, but they should be addressing it. I don't know if they're going to address it, but they should be very quickly because it was a very simple issue from what I can tell. It just like there's so much audio that you just don't hear now.
Ton of issues and super inconsistent. I also think the chest audio, like this chest right in front of us, we should be able to hear that. But a lot of times the audio is just so faint, you don't even know that there's chests nearby. And I'm used to Call of Duty where you can hear the chest, especially in Warzone where you're going around like, oh, I should be able to hear that. There's a lot of other deafening effects. The gas, here's one, the gas is a problem. I don't like what they've done to change it.
It's
horrendous. It kind of makes all your screen blurry. I get it, cool if you want to leave it white, but my screen should mostly be clear.
And the big issue with this, jgod's talking about the gas, right? If you've ran into the gas, you'll notice that basically what ends up happening is that your screen starts shaking. You get double vision a little bit. You turn a little bit slower for the first second of it hitting you. Your flinch is super hardcore when you're in the gas. It's much harder than it was before. It changed the color of your screen. It makes it look like you're dying at all times. Not just like, oh, you're taking damage. It literally makes it look like you are at the lowest HP that you have. And the issue with this is that it removes the ability to do gas plays. It removes the ability of people to play the gas to put themselves in better position because they literally cannot see what's going on. And that is a big, big problem. So I really wish that they'd address this because that was just an L change altogether. I know it's a feature, it's not a bug. It's just they really, really screwed that up, and it sucks because the gas was really in a good place, especially with irradiated and things like that being able to just pop up on the ground. I was excited to use irradiated, and now it feels pretty much pointless.
And maybe I'm just taking tick damage. That should be enough for me to know that get out of the gas. It shouldn't be one of those things where I need to stay in and just completely get bombarded with fog or whatever the heck you want to call it. It's bad enough to be in the gas. You're already at a disadvantage by being in the gas anyways. Your health is going to be lower than anyone challenging you. So like, why give us the extra penalty, right? Bullet velocities on a lot of these. How is this guy still alive? Only level 10? That's kind of crazy.
This is the same guy that had terrible trigger discipline and waited until like the worst time, by the way. jgod noticing, he's like, damn, this guy sucks. What is he still doing in here? That's hilarious.
But the bullet velocities on rifles and LMGs is still a little bit too low. I think when you do a normal build, you're going to be kind of encouraged to go for a recoil ammo and then recoil everything across the board. And the muzzle just isn't enough to give you that oomph. They need to update the suppressor maybe to incorporate that so you can get a little bit of suppressor. Pointless. Give us something like the monolithic suppressor with it, or some of the suppressors we've had in the past to kind of make those a little bit more viable. I know people are upset about the third partying on this map. A lot of it's because you're not running a suppressor like you would have been. We really haven't for about a year and a half now because they...
Okay, pause. I know. Expel, when are you going to shut up? But listen, what he just said was so important. And recently, Call of Duty put out a tweet talking about how third partying is an issue, blah, 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 blah. Long story short, there was a little misunderstanding about this. And I wonder if I can go to, I'm gonna pull it up. Call of Duty Updates mentioned this right here. They said, after reviewing internal data, we've made the decision to slightly adjust the player count on Area 99, our newest resurgence map. The updated player counts are as follows. Basically, they lowered everything by 3, 4, 5, something like that. And the problem with that is that it's very disconnected from the actual issue, which is the fact that the attachments suck so bad that you can't use a suppressor. You have to use a compensator. So everyone is showing up on the map. Everybody. Which means that you see that person on the map, instantly you're pushing towards that. You see somebody on the compass, you're going right towards that. So every single player is seeing that, and every single player is pushing because of that. And it's because suppressors now suck, but they were really, really good on the last iteration of Warzone. I don't know if that's really like something we should change. I think it's great for when you're playing big map. However, there's a whole bunch of other issues that come with big map that really, I don't know, make it super not fun to play. I've been talking about this on and off in some of my content on Expel Plus. There's a lot of bugs that literally lead people to not play the big map right now. But I will say that the attachments are actually a big problem with the way that people play now because it literally changes everything. You don't realize how a single detail can change absolutely everything. But I promise you, not having a suppressor makes such a big difference in the way that people play. And for small maps, that sucks. For big maps, it is great. So I don't know. It's one of those things where I don't know if they should change it because it affects both big and small map in a very different way.
Kind of made them not as good, and then they made them really good by giving us the aftermarket part one. So it's kind of like it's one of those things we just got to get accustomed to not running a suppressor, and people don't realize how big of a suppressor plays into that. But that's kind of a little bit of a tangent there. Slide to fire times on the MW2 and MW3 weapons are pretty bad. Particularly for close range meta weapons. If they could be a little bit more tuned to be in line with BO6 weapons, you'd have a lot more fun options to choose from. And
I will note, jgod has a great video talking about this. I highly recommend you go to his channel. He literally discusses this exact thing in detail and why you basically shouldn't use any SMGs from Modern Warfare 2 and 3. And it's just your slide to fire time. The speed at which you can eliminate an enemy with a Black Ops 6 gun is 50% faster because whenever you slide or you jump or you even just sprint to fire, it is 500 milliseconds delay on those older weapons, but there's basically no delay on the newer weapons. So definitely worth the watch if you have not seen that on his channel.
And then give us some attachments that we can go ahead and improve those, like the ergonomic grip or the CQB grip that we have for the BO6 weapons to make those a little bit more viable. Reloading your weapon is still very slow. They did do a pass through where they made it 10% faster on rifles and LMGs. I still think it's a little bit too slow.
As a quick heads up, the average time to reload those weapons is like 4 seconds, which means they lowered it 400 milliseconds or something like that. Who is that helping? Sleight of hand made it like 2 times faster, right? And you already reloaded quickly, which means everybody was back in the gunfight very, very fast. How does that make any sense? I don't know who was like, you know what? 10% should be just right. It's like the ego of Treyarch or Infinity Ward or whoever does it, whoever decides to mess with Warzone. They always have this massive ego where they think, you know what? We can do it better. We can do it. I've got an idea. And then Treyarch hasn't made anything since freaking Blackout, bro. Like, y'all gotta lock it in. I know, actually, Blackout, to be honest, had a lot less issues than what we're seeing with the reload stuff in here because you had extended fast mags. Bring those back, bro. That would be sick. If we could put extended fast mags on everything, I would shut my mouth immediately. That would be perfect.
It's okay if Treyarch doesn't want to give us a perk that we can include with the Ravens version of Warzone or whatever the heck, but we should just have faster reloads built in by default.
I agree.
Just to make a little bit more options viable. Damn, he got dead.
I miss him already, bro. I miss him. I just can't believe that just happened. I miss our boy. And jgod's about to say, damn, he got deleted.
What did he get hit with? Hopefully we can spectate the right person, which is also another bug. Weapon swapping, still a little bit slow. I think the munitions, when you throw that out, it's only giving you 1 mag for whatever gun you're carrying, which is terrible. That's not enough. It's like if I get into a fight and I need to use munitions and I can only carry 1 because the backpacks are gone, huge W on that end, not having to deal with all that nonsense. But the fact that the munitions...
That actually changes gameplay so much, and you have no idea how much, by the way. Getting rid of the backpack makes gunfights happen so much faster. And it's like they added in things to speed things up and then a bunch of things to slow it down. And I think they were trying to even it out, but they really, really killed the speed at which things are played.
Is whether that's design purpose or a bug, that definitely needs to be fixed. We have weapon leveling still being pretty slow. I think when it comes to Battle Royale, I think everything should kind of just mostly be unlocked. Should be able to build whatever you want.
Yes! jgod just said the exact thing that I've been saying for freaking years. There is no reason that people playing Warzone should have to unlock attachments. Forcing player retention is the dumbest shit I have ever seen in my life when it comes to a battle royale. People play less because this is not something cool that they're unlocking. They're having to get a freaking attachment for their gun that everyone should be able to use. You are ruining the experience for people because they play a 20-minute game and die like that to the meta weapon that they could also have, but they can't have because they have to spend 8 hours unlocking 1 freaking attachment. It's so dumb. Make it where every player gets their attachments. If you want to work on something like challenges, you can do it for camos. It makes no sense that people don't immediately have their attachments. That is actually, dude, I could make a whole video on exactly how this has negatively impacted the game, but I'm not going to because Call of Duty is going to punch me in the throat. I'm just
shit for Warzone, since more traditional battle royales are all geared towards looting.
Yep.
Obviously, maybe you want to incentivize people to level up.
Take me back to Blackout.
Cool, let them level up all their guns pretty quickly in Warzone, or allow them to be able to unlock stuff a little bit easier. I don't know. There's got to be a methodology to that.
It should be completely separated. Plain and simple, Battle Royale should be completely separated from whatever game they're doing right then. It's plain and simple. That is the best way to do it. It's completely separated. We don't have to worry about what's happening with, oh, they've added in Black Ops 6 movement and stuff like that. Cool. If we want to do it, we have a team on the back end that is focusing on just that and ensuring that we're getting updates like that because we know that it's a good update. The players already enjoyed it on Black Ops 6. You get that pushed in there, but we always get new guns. However, they're focused on by one team. They might feel a little different than the full multiplayer game, but it would be much better. then every single attachment is already unlocked, so you can try it over there, and then you're like, oh, I'd like to do this in multiplayer, and you can go level it up in multiplayer. All this stuff makes sense, but Call of Duty will never implement it because they're so focused on retention hacking the player that they are losing out on a massive player base by just making it where they have to play if they want to play, which... Do we realize how stupid that sounds? Do we actually understand how dumb it is that that's what Call of Duty does?
Make it a little bit easy. See that visibility? Terrible. Dude's in a 1v1v1. We'll probably have to go into another match. A lot of issues with this game currently. Okay, let's see. Gonna clutch up. He didn't see you.
By the way, the time to swap weapons right there was so slow.
Nice. Good nade. The zone pulls to the other guy.
But that's faster.
It's kind of a hard rotation. You don't know where the third person is. You know where that one is. Guy's sniping. You do have a gas mask to play with.
Look how gross this is. Look at this. Look how gross this whole screen is. You literally can't see anything on this side. If the player is with like outside of like 10 meters, you can't see him. It's actually incredibly lucky that he can see up here because there's a player up there right now. But literally, if you look at this left side, it's all like completely messed up. That is absurd. And I can't believe someone at Treyarch was like, you know what they're going to love over at the Warzone? Buddy, if we make it where they can't see while they're in the gas, it's going to be incredible. My God.
Where you're at, you do have a smoke to play with. Oh, did you down him? It looked like you might have downed him.
Feature not a bug, by the way.
Dive action. Where's this third person in the mix? Okay, maybe trying to get another gas mask. Gas mask is about to break. And it just broke without the end. So they did fix that portion.
Sometimes it works. I literally today is gonna, I had it to where it pulled off the gas mask. Just so you know, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. They still need to fix something.
As we thought, the guy's throwing some smokes. Okay, we saw the guy cross into the building down low, and then there's one up top. So this was the one he wasn't fighting. He deletes that guy, and then now we know the guy is down low, has to push towards him. You do have zone pool.
I love the jgod went into commentator mode right there. I really do. Like, it is, I just, man, I miss watching the old jgod videos where he just taught people while spectating. I'm not gonna lie, man. I miss the good old days, dude.
And you know that the guy either working his way up or he's gonna be down low. So we'll see what ends up happening here. This guy only has 10 kills, anti-procedure. Oh, damn, he just... I wonder if the guy is cheating because he never even checked the bottom where the guy ran into. Just assumed that they'd be up there. Maybe he had better audio cues. I don't know. Funny enough, that is a...
Oh. I don't know what he's about to say, but I was going to say, while spectating, audio cues are chalked, completely chalked. You can't hear anything while spectating. It's all wrong. You hear every bullet flying across the map, but you can't hear footsteps. Super weird.
Perfect segue into the next problem, which is cheaters. Obviously, they're pretty bad right now, and they're probably the worst they've ever been. Particularly if you're playing multiplayer ranked, you already know how big of a problem that is. They did just recently tweet out saying, hey, we're working on it. We're on top of it. It's a priority.
And oopsie poopsie, we forgot to turn on Ricochet. They really said that too. That's the worst part. If I go back, they were like, hey, yo, Team Ricochet with an update on the ongoing work to combat cheating. Like we actually, oh, I wonder, did they, it doesn't even say it anymore. Where is it? Oh no. Oh, here it is. With an update, rank play launched this week. We're on it while blah, 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 blah. Identified and fixed a data outage that lowered efficacy of AI systems. Like, dog, y'all gonna wait until now to tell us? You'll be like, you know what? We forgot to say it might be busted up in here. It might be busted. Oh, our bad. No, that's on us. We screwed up. We know. We're fixing it. Swear to God, we're doing it. We're just trust. We got you covered.
But they've always told us this until it actually fixes it. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't believe it, right? Same thing with the shadow ban system being a continual problem. For whatever reason, when you do die to a player, if you want to
pause real quick. He skimmed over this. Shadow banning is the worst feature ever. I don't know if y'all know this, but shadow banning makes no sense. They are fully expecting the player base to know exactly, based off of a broken system, kill cams, and spectating, whether or not a player is cheating. Then, when they report the player, let's say a player gets shadow banned and they are cheating, they don't have any way of knowing. They literally, if it is something that has not been caught by their system, there's no way of them knowing. Which is why so many people, and you've seen this time and time again, will get shadow banned while cheating and get their account back in a week, 2 weeks, whatever it may be, because they don't really know if the player's cheating. If it's not caught by the system, it's not caught by the system. So shadow bans are pointless. They do nothing because the people that are cheating just pop on another account. The people that aren't cheating are stuck without an account. What the f, bro? What is the point? What is the point? It makes no sense.
Spectate them, it bugs out as well. That's another thing. I don't know if it's a feature or a bug because it gives you that loser circle, not the winner circle, because obviously you're not winning, but it gives you that little circle. And then when you go to spectate, it applies you to spectate a random player instead of the player that killed you, which kind of defeats the purpose. Like, how can I?
They want to make sure we don't know. That's what it is. It is not a bug. It is a feature. That's
the person who killed me. If I thought they were a cheater, if I can't actually spectate them until towards the end of the match, people ain't got no time for that. Like, what the heck are we doing? They also have the other part where the optimization of the game is just not as good. You're getting less frames now than you were a couple weeks ago.
As a quick heads up, this is because they reverted everything. They reverted every single thing that happened during Warzone 3. All the things that happened, they reverted it. They took some of those things, they added it back in, but it was all back to 0, right? Anything that happened throughout the year, all the patches they put out, they're gone. They're gone. Some of them worked together, like Treyarch and Raven worked together to put those things in because they felt they were important. And then other things, they were like, what did we do? I forgot. What do you know what we did this year? I forgot. Do you know? No. You think you know? No. Okay. All right. So none of us know. None of us know what happened this year. All right. We forgot it. They put everything back to 0 because of the transition in engines. And it broke everything. All of the optimization, all of the audio, all of it. It was all gone. What are we doing? What are we doing?
On the previous version of the game, obviously they got to optimize it and they changed a bunch of things, but it's like, what the heck? How is it going to perform that much worse? Even on Urzikstan, which we've already been playing on for the past year or so. For that, a lot of people are dealing with crashes at a higher rate than they've ever dealt with them. Personally, I haven't had any crashes. I had a couple game freezes during multiplayer or zombies, but for Warzone, I haven't had any of those issues regardless of testing, playing at Area 99, Rebirth Island.
I wonder how much he's playing
I don't play Urzikstan. I don't play BR.
Which is so sad because Urzikstan is where the majority of the problems are. So what they're doing is they're literally pushing the player base that was already dwindling over to Resurgence because people are tired of wasting their time on spending 20 minutes in a match. Hold on, I don't think we're... yeah, people are tired of wasting their time 20 minutes in a match, so they're like, all right, let me go spend 7 minutes and lose to a bug instead of spending 20 minutes and losing to a bug, because what we're doing right now is we're fighting bugs. We're not fighting players. I die to a player, sure, but I didn't die to the player because the player was better. I died because I physically couldn't see the player, because the dynamic lighting makes it to where people inside a building and people outside a building see something completely different. So if I look inside a building and there is a corner with not enough light, guess what? You could be wearing a completely white colored skin and I will not see you. Not in the slightest, because Lord, that's a feature, by the way. Uh-oh, that's not a bug. Wait a minute.
Another part is generally the visibility of the game is just super blurry in general. Sometimes somebody will shoot you and it's really hard to tell where they're shooting you from. It's kind of like everything blends in. I don't know what they've done to pass through. Obviously the floor loot's great. You can see the outlines. I like what they've done with that.
Very nice.
They've eased that part of it. We're not really talking about good things right now, but in general, I feel like they've done some good things in other areas.
Damn it, you tell them, jgod. We're not talking about good things right now.
But the visibility, it's kind of hard to spot that player even when they're directly on your screen, which I don't really feel like it's been like that for a while. Maybe since Caldera, we had some of those issues and they were able to figure it out. And then the other part is the visibility while taking damage. Anytime you get shot, your screen will go with the little blue flickers. And then when your armor breaks, it gives you a full coverage of the entire screen.
Fun fact, they said that they were going to make it much better in this iteration so that we understood we weren't actually getting super hurt. And they did the exact opposite.
You lose all visibility for like a couple frames. Same thing when you end up getting shot, blood hit markers, it covers your screen in red, which those ones, they said that they limited them. So
I told you.
But there's still a significant issue in the game that hurts visibility of the game. The other part is the bad design with eliminations over kills and them being buggy in general, which we'll talk a little bit about. But in general, I don't like the idea of eliminations, EKIAs, whatever.
It's so dumb. It is. Can we stop giving out participation trophies? I get it. This is an incredibly, and this is not to say one side or the other, but I get that this is a incredibly, how do I say this without sounding very wrong, but it's a very progressive company. Okay. Very, very progressive. They've got big booties shaking in the store. That's off rip, should tell you something, but I get it. They're down with giving out participation trophies. Can we maybe not do that all the time? We don't have to. It messes with the human psyche, especially when it comes to a video game where you can just be good or bad. It's a game. You're playing a video game. Why do we have to give out participation trophies? Just let people get kills or deaths. It's that simple. Why do you have to throw the assists in and have a whole other section? But guess what? They got rid of it now. Now it's just eliminations. Yay. What? Why? I can read my assists as well. I'm not a 6-year-old child, dog. Come on.
Whatever in multiplayer, but essentially it combines your kills with assists. So if you,
and it's not always correct, by the way. You can have kills and assists and it'll still be wrong.
lean damage on anyone, you shoot one bullet out of the sky, your team shoot, you're gonna get credit for all those engagements. We've always had that.
I'm sorry. Are y'all watching the Yuko? Hold on. I'm gonna come back. I'm so sorry. Look at this guy right here. Miss every bullet.
Your team shoot. You're gonna get credit for all those engagements. We've always had that in the form of.
Whoa! He got one.
Assists. And this has a trickle over to the leaderboards. We don't have combat records. Like, that was a quality of life I forgot to mention on my list. So we're over like 35 items at this when we come into this next part.
Yep.
Then we get into the bugs, and then there's a plethora of bugs. They may have been included in kind of one of the bullet points that I already did, but currently there are a lot of bugs. Several perks either don't do anything, are bugged, don't do what they are intended to do, and they need some kind of buff. Yep. Just like cold-blooded not working consistently. Obviously, dexterity needs a huge buff.
Which is Mountaineer, by the way. Mountaineer is dexterity. And you get 3 extra meters by dropping. Insane.
That can include weapon swapping. The Mountaineer part of it sucks. There's so many different perks. Like, you could just go on and on about how they're kind of trash. Move on to the next POV. Nice. You can randomly teleport.
jgod was having such a bad time with this dude. This man could not hit a shot to save his life. He saw a guy over there who obviously took a head glitch, and then immediately he was like, let me just walk out in the middle of the open. I'll get it. We've got it covered. I'm the best in the business. No one will ever know. I'm getting this W. I'm getting this W, and it will not be taken from me. Oh, I was wrong. My bad.
On the map, I've really only seen this on Urzikstan, where people randomly launch out of a vehicle. They randomly launch in a lot of different ways, and it's really, really buggy. Obviously, we've had these types of bugs before in Verdansk, Caldera, pretty much every iteration of the map, and they usually work themselves out, but there's so many going on right now. Settings, people's settings reset.
I would like to mention a couple of things. Obviously, dynamic lighting. I mentioned that earlier, but I'd also like to say we have things like grenades doing literally 0 damage if you hit them directly. Obviously, the issue with desync is crazy, but one big one that I think just gets constantly overlooked and is possibly one of the biggest problems in the game right now. I know it sounds super small, but you have no idea how many times you climb a ladder. When you climb a ladder, if you get shot and you jump off the ladder, no matter what, whether you have this setting turned on or off in your settings, you will always automatically pull your parachute. Man, somebody help me, please. Because I can't climb a ladder. I can't push a person. I can't jump on a ladder, climb up the ladder, and then jump down to a window. Because guess what? When I climb up, it pulls my damn parachute. What the hell am I going to do with that?
They finally watch a guide like mine or one of the other ones out there. They copy them to the T. Their game gets running smoothly. And then all of a sudden, they reload the game. Update requires restart. And boom, they're back to default settings. Then they got to go through the guide again.
And this is the exact reason, by the way, that I've not made a settings video on my Expel Plus channel, is because everybody's like, Expel, my game runs like crap. I need a settings video. I hear you. I read the comments. I see them every freaking day. But what do you want me to do about it? Like, if I make the settings video, you're going to have to go back and copy it 18 different times. Either just deal with it or wait until it gets fixed, and they're not messing up settings anymore. It is crazy out here.
They got to figure that out. Suppose there's a workaround. If you know it, go ahead and put it in the comments. I haven't really dealt with that issue, so I haven't had to think of a workaround. Screen will randomly flicker. It's almost like you're updating your emote wheel, so you can kind of see what is, doing one of those is quick pop-up, but it does that randomly.
And it'll freeze. Your game will freeze entirely, and then it'll go, and then you're dead by that amount of time because the TTK is so freaking fast in this.
And I don't know what the heck's causing it, but that's another bug. Infinite fetching player, so people can't even play the game. And apparently this is a max level bug. So once you reach level 56 and you should prestige, the game might lock you out.
This does happen a lot with multiplayer, and you can play something like Warzone or Zombies often. To be clear, this is not a complete fix for everything, but sometimes you can hop into Zombies or hop into Warzone and Prestige and it'll fix it, but it doesn't always fix it. Sometimes you're just stuck and you can't play the game. This is the same issue that happened with Caldera, where people literally couldn't load into the game because it would crash 24/7. And that is why we will lose a ton of player best. In fact, I have a very specific question that I'd like to ask to you. If you've made it this far in the video, we're 45 minutes deep or something like that. My question to you is this. If you have chosen to stop playing Call of Duty right now, stop playing Warzone specifically, is it because you don't like the integration itself? Like the new movement, the new guns, whatever, or is it all the bugs and glitches that came with the game? I'm not trying to sway you one way or another. Obviously, we're watching a video talking about the bugs, but realistically, I've not had a ton of issues with the things that came with the update. I have a ton of issues with the things that were taken away or are completely bugged out in the game right now. I don't know. That's just me, but I want to know your opinion, so drop in a comment down below, because I got into a bit of a scuffle with a very intelligent content creator who otherwise I would have been like, wow, this guy's a genius. But when I watched him say that people just hate the Black Ops integration, I was like, first of all, that's crazy. That is crazy, but whatever.
Because you need to change your operator or something, and then because of this, you can't play the game. It'll just keep fetching profile.
Yeah.
How do you get around this? You got to prestige or wait. That's kind of your two options, I believe, because there's a bug with that, and that'll default everything out when you prestige. So then it solves the issue for you. Streaks. If you call in a certain number of streaks or something bugs them out, so then your streaks don't work effectively, and you can't actually interact with it. There is a.
I actually, funny enough, I had this happen earlier today where I had not used kill streak for the entire match. I'm talking UAV, I'm talking counter UAV, I'm talking cluster strike, whatever you want to say. I didn't use a single thing. I pulled up the kill streak, I tried to aim down and throw it up, and it clicks, and you hear the thing go click, and it's still in my hand, and I'm sitting there like an idiot, just holding the goggles, like, what do I do? What's next? All right, we faked it. What now? What do I do? Like, you know what I'm saying?
The workaround for this, but again, it shouldn't be a problem in the first place. We've had streaks since the beginning of Warzone, since 2020 of March.
What are we doing?
How are these bugs that are coming back? Maybe some of these they're not aware of, but I'm including a lot of these. Like I said, if you got more, let me know. Delay when trying to apply plate. Sometimes you'll hold it, and then it's like, okay, where's the action? Where's the action? Let me try it again, and then it does the plating animation, regardless if you have quick fix, tempered, or just the default animation. Sometimes when you're...
And by the way, quick fix is not a good option. If you have yourself tried to use quick fix, you may notice that no matter what you do, you will plate. So if you find yourself in a situation where, all right, I need to plate up, but there's also an enemy nearby, let me go ahead and toss in 1 to 2 plates so that I get a little bit of a boost in how much health I have. But I want to make sure that I can still fight. If you run quick fix, you will plate no matter what. You will toss in those plates and you'll be able to hip fire, and you can't reload. So you'll hip fire until you're empty, and then you can switch weapons, but you still are stuck plating. And sometimes you'll plate like 5 times, especially if you have more plates and they're shooting at you. It is the weirdest and dumbest thing. So you get stuck in this plating animation and there's nothing you can do to get out of it. And when you do have no quick fix and you're plating, sometimes you'll tap the triangle button to switch, switch out of plating, and it'll switch your damn weapons. Man, what are we doing? Lord have mercy, bud.
You're grabbing a gun, the gun will disappear. Like you'll swap it, and then it just disappears one of your guns.
Knives just disappear. You can't use any knife. Blueprints. You can't use the drill, by the way, which is absolutely absurd on the same topic. And that your guns completely bug out if you try to use a blueprint, or if you try to use a regular gun that was turned into a blueprint. Weird.
So there's bugs related to that. I mean, there's so many issues currently with the game. And even with all these issues, I'm having more fun than I've had in like 2 years. Since before Warzone 2 dropped, I'm having more fun. So I know it sounds like, ooh, bleak, complain. I'm having more fun. I've actually did something during this video that I've never done before, during spectating randoms and these types of videos. I actually played 2 matches in between the recording. I go, you know what, I'm gonna get a couple kills off the landing, and one of them I ended up getting like 19 kills, 20 eliminations, but I got 19 kills, and I was having fun.
And on that topic, let me just be very clear. I think, like I said, that the integration with Black Ops was an incredible idea. I think Omni movement is great. But I think for the average player, spending 20 minutes in a match just to die to a player besting them only because of a bug in the game, not because they lost in a one-on-one engagement, it really sucks. Like, it's a really L thing to happen. I enjoy the gunplay whenever I get into a fight, but let's say the netcode messes up and I die because I get super bulleted, even though I have like 12 ping, 0 packet loss. Make that make sense. How does that work? There's so many things. Or like I said, not being able to see somebody, my chute pulling whenever it shouldn't pull, not being able to pull my parachute whenever I'm spamming the damn button. There's always an input delay whenever I'm trying to do literally anything in this thing. I don't understand all these problems, and I feel like a large majority of players that are having issues with this aren't actually having issues with it being a Black Ops game. They're having issues with the fact that the game just simply isn't doing what it's supposed to do. I don't know what else to say, but I think that's the biggest problem that we're running into is the number of bugs in the game, not the number of people that are like, damn, Black Ops really sucks. Because if that was the case, wouldn't Black Ops not be the most played game of Call of Duty of all time? Like, am I crazy? Is that really like something we can say?
I got 4th, whatever. It is, they win them all. But regardless, I was having fun, so I kept playing.
Wins are hard to come by.
And that's one of the things that you've got to be aware of. A lot of people are enjoying the game. I think the current version is still potentially one of the best versions we've ever had.
It could be, potentially. We do not know yet. Yeah, that's the problem.
Despite all those issues. Like, that's kind of sad because we had Warzone 2 and then the Warzone 3 with Modern Warfare 3 or whatever you want to call it. That was a pretty good version of the game. It just was not buggy.
And here's the thing. I don't know if y'all have watched me for a long time, but if you watched me during Warzone 2, I really fought for the developers at the time. I want to be very clear. During that time, I said, I think Warzone 2 is really, really good. It has a big opportunity to improve if they do this, 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 and this. If they make the speed of the game just a little bit faster. If they make it where, this, that, and the other thing is fixed. I'm not having any dev errors all the time, like stuff like that. If they fix that, we should be good. The problem is, and I'm hoping that this isn't what happens with this iteration of Warzone. The problem is, I have no leg to stand on to do something like that because I've seen how long, time and time again, it takes for Call of Duty, whatever company it is that worked on the game, it takes them so freaking long to get these things fixed that it's absurd. And you'd figure that Raven Software would have already seen these things and be like, damn, we just set up this whole game and y'all just went ahead and furfed it up. But for some reason, we have these issues. I don't know, man. I don't know if Treyarch's the one in charge right now of Warzone. That would really suck. But Raven should know better, right? Raven has done an incredible job. I have a ton of developers that follow me over on Twitter, and I try to be pretty vocal about it. And it's really hard to give props for the 7 things they did right that made the game better when there's 800 things that made the game worse. So I feel really bad whenever I really just like dog on these companies, but at the same time, it is my job to be the voice of my viewers, right? I have thousands of people that are leaving comments every single day saying, I'm quitting Call of Duty. I'm also never going to watch your videos again because I'm quitting Call of Duty and I don't want to be reminded of how bad the game is. And even if you're having a good video, something that makes the game seem fun, it'll make me want to play. I'll hop on and I'll have a bad time. I literally get comments like this every single day. And I know that a lot of you guys watching this video right now are going to say a similar thing to that. And I feel it's my job. It is my responsibility as the person that has cultivated this community, like the one, you guys, you right now. it is my job to try and be a voice for the vast majority of you. I'm not saying that I agree with everything that everybody is saying in the comments down below, but I do feel it's my responsibility to pass those things along, especially knowing that a lot of people see what I say. And whether or not people like it or not is a completely different thing, because I'm telling you, people think that I'm like trying to suck down other streamers, but boy, oh boy, if y'all knew the number of people that did not like me because I say my opinion and I'm very, very honest about it, you would be surprised.
I feel like this version, way more fun, not having to worry about backpack. I mean, there's so many good things going for it. They just need to get there, and hopefully they just come out. Just be transparent as possible. Say, you know what? We bit off more than we could chew. We end up launching it a couple weeks earlier than we probably should have. I think they should have launched it in December, like we kind of expected. December.
I hear that. I do. They had so long. They had so long to get this right. And as much as I wish they would have done it in December, we talked about this last year with Warzone 3. Warzone 3 came out and they lost a ton of player base just because it launched with bugs. Now these bugs were usually pretty good, but they launched it. Actually, the big problem that the game had with Warzone 3 wasn't really bugs, because people got to see the map early while playing zombies. The big problem with this game actually came with certain weapons being completely busted and being very not fun to play with. Ironically, all they had to do was throw these weapons in the vault and it would have been fine. But the sheer, I don't know, ego of these people to be like, no, we're gonna leave this in, dude. Like, I don't understand stuff like that. But last year we had this exact thing that jgod's saying, where it's like, all right, if we wait a month, we get it fixed. That's not what happens, right? Because what ends up happening is they launch it, it's gonna have all the same issues because they can't find the issues until it goes live. That is what we see time and time again. jgod himself has said that exact thing. So to say we should have launched it later is just not the play. They have to find these issues. The issue with the issues, ironically, is that they really should have a ton of people on standby. And I mean an absurd amount of people on standby to fix these bugs as fast as physically possible. One thing that really pissed me off, and I mean, like, it's obvious why they do it, and I understand why they do it, but it really sucks. But if you go to the Call of Duty updates page on Twitter, there was like 100 tweets that they put out on day one of Warzone being broken and stuff like that with season 1. And the only thing they fixed within 24 hours, the only thing, was 2 issues with the store, or people being able to access the store or their black cell bundles or things like that. That is what they fixed. And every time I see something like that, I realize, sure, it's a different team. I get it. It's people that are focused on other things, but it is literally a slap in the face to the consumer, because they're like, all right, I already paid for this. Even if I get the bundles, I still can't use the damn bundles. So why are you making it where I can buy it and still not freaking use it? It makes no sense. I cannot imagine being a developer and having to listen to your boss who's like, hey, look, I know that there's a lot of things that make the game not fun, but could you go ahead and make sure that we're getting money? Because if we're not getting money here, people might actually have to have fun with the fixes you do elsewhere. So just make sure we get the money in, because we need that. And the 7.7 billion that we made before just wasn't enough for us. All right, buddy.
November 5th would have been the date. Obviously, that's the mid-season update, so they couldn't really do that, I guess, because it would have been dry. So it is what it is. Maybe that was the desired date and Activision forced the hand. Whatever, it doesn't matter. No excuses. Just be transparent. I'm having fun. I want to keep having fun the rest of the year, which I have been enjoying the game. We'll see kind of how that goes. Now, let's get into some of this end game top 10. This guy already got 8 kills.
Okay, if you want to see the end game top 10, and obviously go to jgod's page. You can watch the video. It's always linked down below in the description. Either way, I want to hear your input. I need to hear your input on this. I obviously don't want to have this echo chamber of everybody being like, God dang it, this game's the worst thing I ever done did see. I want to know why it's the worst thing you ever done did see. You know what I mean? I want to hear exactly what the actual issues are you're having with the game. Look, a lot of people are just going to be like, this game sucks. You're not helping anybody. The developers aren't going to fix it. There's no way for them to know. I want to know in specifics what you are having an issue with. Drop it in a comment down below. I will do my best to raise awareness for these issues, try and be the voice of you all who I know they're probably not listening to, and hopefully we can see things getting patched and we can all go back to having fun. So either way, I hope everybody has an incredible day. Thank you for coming through and watching the video. Subscribe. All right. I try to wait a long video to say that, or a long time to say that. But if you could do that, that'd be great. Thanks. Have a good one. We'll see you. Hasta luego. Oh, go watch my other videos. Actually, that would be really cool. We have some great videos covering very, very important topics. So do that now, like current. Get.